The time is 7 p.m. There are 6 members of council present. A quorum is established. I call this meeting to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda was employee recognition. Unfortunately, the employee cannot make it tonight, so we will table that and try to get to that next month. Item number 4 is public comment. First was Chef Tally Love. I don't think Chef Tally made it tonight. Second was Craig Tennis. I hope I got the name right. And then third was Robbie Dufresne, and representing Robbie tonight will be his wife Heather. And Heather, did I pronounce y'all's last name right?
It's Dufresne.
Dufresne? Okay. Well, I apologize that I mispronounced your name.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Just came to petition the council for a couple parking spots for our business, Screaming Aces Tattoo.
So you're located
29 East Main
29 East Main
Street.
Street, and you all are wishing to lease a couple parking
Yes.
spaces from the city. Council, to give you a little background, you know, we do have an option to lease parking spaces. That's a rate that we set every year. We've had that in place for a couple of years now because we know that whenever the Redmond building is completed, that is going to be a huge challenge for all of us. So we put in place that we could lease parking spaces. So the business has asked to lease a couple of parking spaces from us. We have a contract in place that I can distribute to you all to look at tonight. And if you would like to ask questions from Heather just about reasons why, or, you know, kind of the background for this request, you're certainly free to do so.
Mayor, what's the price for the?
The price, as you all have set, you know, every December we set our fee schedule, so it's $25 per space.
Per month?
Per month, correct, yes.
And these
I
are-
should have added that. That's a big difference, yeah. So
And these are in city lots?
they're in city lot directly behind City Hall, so we have several spaces that are already marked off and reserved for employees. These would be on the other. No, they're not going to be up front. No, they're in the city lot 2 behind us.
That's what I was
And this could be an option. I mean, if in city lot 1 or city lot 3 somebody wanted to rent spaces, we could certainly do that. So they are short on what we are seeing more and more. It's great that businesses, that property owners are rehabbing properties, making apartments, but it is causing a strain on the parking situation because many of these buildings do not have parking spaces. You all already have 2 parking spaces,
Yes,
correct?
we have 2 directly behind the door.
Yeah. So they're just asking to rent a couple more that would be behind City Hall, back near the call box that we have in place there. You can see from the contract that we have, which Megan has looked over and approved, that we would just go from a year-to-year lease with these that could be broke by either party with 30-day notice. We've got provisions in here that the spaces could not be sublet, that you couldn't put campers there or boats there, that you couldn't have inoperable vehicles there, that the space couldn't be used for a mobile business. I mean, all of that is in this contract. And then releasing us from the liability for that space while they have it. With that space, it would be marked, and then so they would essentially be responsible for that space for the time period that they are leasing it.
And if somebody parks there that's not supposed to, then they would be responsible for getting it towed.
They're going
right?
to call, and that vehicle will be towed. Absolutely. Be just like they're owning the space.
Right.
They're-
So is this for like your customers, or is this more for your employees?
This is employee only.
Okay.
How many employees do you have down there?
We have 5.
5, okay. So right now you got 2 parking spaces. You're just trying to help solve the issue you have down there.
And Mayor, do we have enough spaces for all the businesses down here if they wanted to get a couple?
If other businesses wanted to approach, absolutely, we do have spaces that we could look at. This is the first time a business has approached us wanting to try to, be a part of a solution and lease from us.
Something we probably ought to promote that.
Yeah,
So maybe
because
they
I
won't be
guess
parking
I
in front of
didn't
their own
realize-
businesses,
yeah.
so many of them.
We've had that,
Businesses downtown that
we discussed this a couple years ago with the Redmond building. When that building, there's 18 apartments in that building. They have no parking. So when that building comes online, whenever that may be, we are gonna have a huge challenge back there because there's no parking. And you know that apartments don't just have one vehicle, they're gonna have two. So we're gonna have to figure that out when the time comes, and we're gonna have something in place. We have something in place, and we've had this in place for a couple of years.
I guess I
It's
just
just,
didn't realize it was, I knew we talked about it with the Redmond building, but I didn't know that it was for.
well, nobody's asked.
Gotcha.
Yeah, nobody's asked before, so
So
this is the
those
first time a business owner's asked.
We've designated those 18 for the Redmond building, but.
We've not, we've
But
not,
they're
we just said
aspects.
that's the reason we need to think about leasing, so
Okay.
when that time comes.
Okay.
And I don't know how we'll work that, that'll be something that you all figure out, whether we lease all the spaces to the building or whether we do individual passes, so.
It's a good idea.
Any other comments so without objection, we'll go ahead and approve this, and if you all want to get with me over the next couple of days, we'll get the paperwork finalized. I'll give you a copy of this contract, you can go ahead and take that tonight. We just need a copy of your vehicle information, the insurance, it's, the standard stuff. And then we'll finalize that. Nathan, you can go ahead and put 2 parking spaces, go ahead and mark those in the back.
Put all 4?
Just put the 2.
Okay.
Yeah, just put the 2 in place.
So are they marked so that?
They will be
people
marked,
know?
absolutely. So if anybody parks in that space and they're not supposed to, they'll have the ability they'll have the paperwork that says they're leasing it and they can call to have a car towed. So
So
just like they would do for their own building.
Who's
Gotcha.
responsible for the signage, the cost of the signage?
We are the city, yeah. So we've went ahead and obtained that, knowing that these type of requests were gonna come at some point.
And it'll just say reserved, towed.
Nathan, what do they say?
What's that?
It says reserved space, do not park towed, yeah,
Told it on the.
Code zone, do not park, code zone,
yeah.
something like that.
What we'll do is, we'll just assign a number to each one of those, and you'll have a number on your paperwork, and
Okay,
we'll go from there, okay?
okay, thank you.
So, yeah, so without objection, go ahead and approve that to enter
Motion
into that
on that.
agreement, and yeah, if there's other businesses that are
You need a
interested,
motion, or you just-
we'll go ahead and do a motion just to make it official. So we got a motion by Barnes, second by Garrett. Any further discussion? Poll the members, please.
Barnes.
Aye.
Garrett.
Aye.
Hilton. King.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Tribble.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
And I see Chef Tally Love has joined us, so come on forward. We'll go ahead and turn the microphone over to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I want to apologize for being late. We have a catering going on in 2 different cities right now, and so that's why I'm running a little bit late. And my appearance as well. I'm in suits and something like this right here. I want to ask the mayor as well as the city for permission, I guess, to the state of my operation is we do barbecue on the side of the roads, and I've been doing it for 30 years. This is the only city that changed the ordinance for my business to set up for a week and be vacant on the same property in a week. The way we normally do it is we set up in the city for 2 weeks, but allowing another week to get prepared to serve the public with the food and everything. So by being set up for a week doesn't allow me enough time to set up in your city at all. There's a lot of residents here that call me, if not every day, every other day, want to know when Callie's Barbecue is coming back to Mount Sterling. Well, there's a new ordinance that came out about a year ago stating that we can't set up in a 2-week period. And again, I said, this is the only city in the state of Kentucky that has that ordinance for us to have that short length of time. So what I'm here today for is just to ask, with gratitude, to be able to set up so I can make a living like everybody else for the 2-week period instead of setting up for a week. Because it takes us a day and a half to set up and a day and a half to tear down the tent operation. So all due respect, when we set up, no matter where we set up in the state of Kentucky, we serve the first responders in that city. As far as the nurses, the doctors, the police, the sheriff, and everybody else, one day out of 2 weeks. This is how I give back to the communities throughout the state of Kentucky. I like Mount Sterling. Mount Sterling likes me because the reason I know that, because of the volume that we do when we're here. So I don't know the true reason why the mayor, the time span got shortened, but I'm here today to see if we can work something out where I can have that time to actually, set up and tear down. We've never received under 100% health department score in 30 years since I've been doing this. I started in Lexington. I'm from Lexington, and that's what I'm here for. To find out exactly what's going on and could I be granted that time to set up and the time to tear down. And I'm just asking permission for that.
Chef, do you have food truck license right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a food truck license through the city right now? Mobile food license?
I'm not sure if that license go from each year.
It's January
So,
to December.
yeah, I just have to,
Right, so you've not renewed this year?
Right.
Okay.
Because of the ordinance, sir.
Yeah, okay.
That's why, so I try to comply. But when I was up here at the VP, I got cited 3 times in 3 days, just because of the fact that we went over the ordinance that was implied the year before. But your residents here wants the food, they want the service, and I just don't understand why our hands are tied to not be able to operate in Mount Sterling.
Can we have that ordinance read? You don't have to have it handy, do you?
We can, if
Give me this.
you don't object, we'll take a couple minutes here to allow her to get the ordinance for everyone.
And then, could there be some kind of explanation why it changed? This is the only city, like I said, I can go to Georgetown, I can go to Richmond, I can go to Lexington, anywhere else and not have a problem. I pay my taxes. I just don't understand.
There's a lot of reasons ordinance get changed. We represent the interest of a lot of people here. It's not just mobile food trucks, it's not just restaurants, it's not just citizens, it's everyone. So that decision, naturally restaurants have a concern about mobile food vendors
Correct.
who are set up for excessive periods of time when they're making investments in brick and mortar establishments and paying restaurant taxes. They want to see that mobile food vendors are also doing the same. So the ordinance that is in place is a result of just trying to compromise in what's in the best interest of everyone. We have a lot of vendors who are mobile vendors now who that ordinance works great for. They're setting up for a day or two and then they're moving somewhere else. So we also had issues, Chef, with people setting up on property that wasn't theirs. So that was a concern and why a mobile food ordinance was needed. So it's not just one reason that an ordinance has ever passed. There's multiple reasons behind it. So, and we're not saying that you are a part of any of those reasons.
And I'm not.
It's just, that's the reality of, when the council comes together and has to make tough decisions, there's a lot of input that they have to consider.
I understand that, Mayor, but like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years. And all due respect, I'm a law-abiding citizen of the world. And, I gotta make a living regardless of, what's going on. Again, I set up at multiple cities in the state of Kentucky. We haven't had one problem, in reference to the law being called, the fire department, even though we have 12 burning grills at 1,500 degrees outside. Again, 100% health department's, scores in 30 years. I'm just not understanding, so I'm here for clarity on
Yeah,
why that Mount Sterling is the only city that we are in that we have these problems.
I was just interested in that statement, so off the fly, I looked up the city of Moorhead, and it looks like they also have a mobile food unit vendor ordinance, and they actually don't allow any food unit to be at any one location for more than 5 consecutive days.
Okay, unless that was just amended, I know Mayor Brown.
That was
there, and
2017.
I do know, well, that's in 2017. Okay, well, we were in Moorhead after 2017. We were set up at the Shoe Sensation in Moorhead
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, and I did meet with Mayor Brown there as well, and never had a problem.
So
I don't know
perhaps
where
you
that's
got a variance, but I don't think it's accurate to say that this is the only city in the state that has such a restriction.
Right, and I'm not sure if it's Mayor White Brown or Mayor Brown White, but I spoke with Mayor Brown White. Matter of fact, we had breakfast together, talked about a lot of different things. She loved it when we were there. We've never had a problem there in Moorhead. So we were set up in Moorhead for 2 weeks at the Susan station, and then when we moved there, we went right down the street in Moorhead at the Shell station next to the Huddle House for 2 weeks as well. So unless they changed something from last year, I'm not aware of the 2017 ordinance, and nobody's never said anything to me about that.
Yeah.
So
And
this is
it
my
could-
first time hearing that.
It could be that those locations that you've just disclosed are not within city limits.
You don't think the Huddle House is in the city limits of Moorhead, right down the street from the college?
I
Or
don't-
Susan Station right downtown from the hospital? You don't think that's in Susan?
I'm not familiar enough with Moorhead to know like the address of where you're saying. I'm just
Well,
suggesting
you know about the
that.
information you just asked me about.
I informed you about the ordinance when you stated incorrectly represented to this council that this is the only city in the state that has
Okay.
such a restriction. And I corrected you that not only is that inaccurate, but there's cities that have more stringent restrictions.
Of course. I'm just trying to make a living, and it's hard for me to make a living when I get interference with my business, because I'm the only one to speak for me in my corporation. And again, like I said, I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I feel like my hands is tied when I come to Moorhead. And the only thing I'm asking for is more time to set up, because I'm setting up a tent. It's not a food truck where you move in a mobile operation, it's a food tent. So it takes us hours to get that tent together, and then hours to stock it up, and then hours to get ready to serve the customers. We've never had a problem until now. And the ordinance just changed all of a sudden, because we were in Moorhead 2 years ago. Up at Exxon, when it was Exxon, but it's Marathon now, and we never had a problem. So we've been here before, but the ordinance just changed after a year or so.
Actually, Chef, that was 2021 this ordinance changed, so it's been in effect for some time.
Okay, well, we've been here before 2021.
I'm just
Never had a problem.
Just letting you know the reality, it wasn't in the last year, this was 2021 that this change went into
So
effect.
we just decided to enforce it apparently. And,
No, we've been
appreciate
enforcing
it.
No, we've been
Yeah,
enforced.
We've been enforcing.
Well, the form that I had received, and I apologize, but I don't have it with me. Can I see a copy of it? Because I didn't receive it in 2021. I received
You're
mine
happy.
in 2022.
Chef, you're welcome to take this, and, we appreciate, absolutely, we appreciate your comments and feedback, and certainly understand the council does not make any decisions on ordinances in one evening. To be fair, the council has heard your side of the story, and if they wish to take this up and change the length of time, or change anything else about that ordinance, they need the opportunity to be able to have time to do so.
I understand that, Mayor, but for right now, I can't operate.
So when
In the city of Mount Sterling.
That is not correct. You have 7 days to operate. There's your ordinance right
I
there.
can't operate in 7
Okay.
days, not for what I do. I'm just asking for 7 more days, that's all I'm
Okay.
asking for. And how much time do we need to say, okay, Chef, you got 7 more days? That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, but that's not anything we're gonna change tonight, is my point. Ordinances take time to change, right? And it's perfectly fine that you've come and expressed your objection to the 7-day period. Unfortunately, you know, we wish they could have heard that on the front end, because that's the decision that was made at the time. Now, if council wishes to change the length of time that food trucks are gonna be able to set up and operate, then they can certainly do so, but that's gonna require that ordinance to be changed, and that takes 2 readings. Yes, Dr. King?
I just have 2 comments. One is, what is the urgency of it right now? Like, is there an event or something that's right now? 2 is, could you submit in writing a variance and let us consider a variance to your circumstance rather than us changing an ordinance? I just think that there may be a way to compromise and be able to give assistance without having to totally reinvent the wheel. So that's my discussion.
That's all I'm asking for is a compromise. because
One more
this was
question.
This was just.
One more question, you're asking for an extra week, but you said it takes a day and a half to set up and a day and a half to.
Say that
tear
again,
down.
I'm sorry.
You said it takes a day and a half to set up and a day and a half to tear down. So you don't really need an extra week, you need a day and a half. to
No,
set up.
I need an extra week because it's not like, it's not a 10 by 10 tent. If I can explain something real quick, you know how they have the tailgating, like for football games and stuff like that? You all familiar with the tents, the pop-up tent you get at Walmart? This isn't one of those.
I
This
understand.
is something that you can
We're just clarifying.
Okay, right.
That what we're talking
This is
about.
something that you have to jackhammer in the ground. It
Okay,
takes
so you're
time.
asking for a week.
Yes,
an extra
ma'am.
week.
Well,
Okay.
not only for that, I'm asking for a week for sales. Because once we set up, we sell for that 2-week period. So I can't take any time out of that 2 weeks that we're actually open and selling from 12 to 7
Okay,
it's not a pop-up tent.
and we
It's something
understand.
that you have to,
I got you,
you know.
I got you, we're just,
And then I want to get
Clarify.
back to the answering, I believe it's Danielle, Ms. King.
Yes.
Answering your question, the sense of urgency of what you asked me is the fact that I have to pay my rent, my bills, my insurance, my employees, and everything else. That's the sense of urgency. I mean, the COVID affected us enough on top of what we have to deal with here. I really just don't understand. I'm still not understanding why I have to wait to make a living. You know, I don't think I should have to wait another hour, to be honest with you. I'm trying to make a living to pay my bills just like you're paying your bills. I'm not asking for anybody for anything. I've never got a loan from my business. I started from 1 grill, 1 tent, and unfortunately, you know, Mayor Al Box, you know, I really like you as a person. I like what you're doing with the city. I seen you the other day, which inspired me. When you got out of your vehicle, you didn't see me, but picking up trash on the side of the road. That's what I'm about. You take care of your city. I like the city of Mount Sterling. I like the people here. I worked a lot with Jeanette here. I think you do a fabulous job. All I'm trying to do is make a living. I'm not trying to close up Burger King. I'm not trying to close up Long John Silver's. I'm trying to make a living. The ordinance is a little bit different from what I do, because nobody in the state of Kentucky does what I do. The food trucks that you see outside in Lexington and all these other different cities, it's a different operation. And the ordinances are different in Frankfurt for my stuff in those food trucks. We use a lot of man hours, labor hours, 3, 4 o'clock when you're sleeping to set up our tents. It's a lot of work. You know, and cooking, like I said, myself on 10 grills outside is a lot of work. It's not something that, you know, I can explain. It's a gift from God. But the only thing that I'm trying to do today is I'm not trying to put on a show. I'm trying to make an honest living. You know, we feed the first responders. I don't want any kind of gratitude or anything for that. That's just something I do. We don't donate to the March of Dimes, United Way, United Negro College Fund, all these miracle networks, because when we have those little white boxes that we hand out to these first responders for doing the jobs they do, it comes from my heart, and it comes from the money that your residents give us when they buy food. 100% my money. We don't get any loans. We don't come to the mayor and ask him for a check. we do that ourselves. You know, so no matter how it looks like, what it is, this is what I'm here for. And
Right.
I come down and I asked Jeanette when the next meeting was, because I wanted to speak myself and tell you where my heart is and what I'm trying to do. You know, I don't know what else to tell you, but I can't wait another day. I can't wait another hour, you know, for somebody to decide whether or not we need to give this man 7 days so he can make a living. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. All the other cities don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. I know Mayor Jenkins, Ed Bartner in Winchester, he was the mayor, but he, of course, last year was his last year. Yes, Ms. King.
So if we were to approve a variance, what day would you have wanted to plan to set this up?
Well, it's, the day, I'm glad you asked that question, because the weather is a big factor of what we do and when we do it. And that's another thing, I'm glad you brought that up. So if I got 7 days, say to set up what you're giving me now, if the weatherman says it's gonna be a bad 7 days, what did I just do? I spent labor already setting the tent up, but I got 7 days. So if I don't tear the tent down, the police are gonna be called like they were called before on me right up here, 3 days in a row. Giving me a citation because the government is saying that I violated the ordinance.
So with all due respect, what is the urgency of being in Mount Sterling? I mean, there's Lexington, there's Winchester, and you say that you've already been there and you can set up there without a problem. So I'm trying to understand what is the urgency of you having to be here instead of being somewhere else. None of us is trying to take your job away from you. None of us, I think I can speak for everybody when I do say that. But there's an ordinance, like Mayor just said, it's not going to be changed like right now.
Right.
So I'm trying to understand why it's so important that you have to do Mount Sterling today.
Right, and I'm glad you asked that question. Is it Garrett?
It is.
Okay. The urgency is that people in Mount Sterling likes barbecue as well. That's the urgency. There's not a barbecue restaurant here that I know of. Now, as far as the residents here, some days we can do 150 to 300 customers a day, depending on the day, depending on what's going on. There's a lot of things, we like to travel and go all the way up to Ashland and go back down the road. We stay at each location 2 weeks at a time, and then we gotta move. Now, the 2 weeks at a time is sort of carved in because of the health department rules and regulations out of Frankfurt. So 14 days is the maximum we can stay at that same location. Then we have to move to another location anyway. Like we can move right across the street. Like we was to set up and work solely at one business, we have to move in a period of 14 days to another location. And we can't go back to the same location in 30 days. Now that's the ordinance coming out of Frankfurt for a tent. Now when you see the food trucks, the tired food trucks, they can stay all year long right where they are. With exceptions, I believe, of Mount Sterling. Now, they're under the guidelines of my food tent, only in Mount Sterling. They have to move every 14 days as well, I believe. Is that not correct?
7 consecutive days.
Okay, 7 consecutive days. They got to move as well. And that only applies to Mount Sterling. Because every other city, when you go to Lexington, you'll see that same red truck there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in that same spot.
So again, I ask, what is the urgency of being in Mount Sterling?
Because I get a lot of phone calls from your residents here in Mount Sterling. Want to know when we're coming back to Mount Sterling.
So,
I don't want Mount Sterling to be exempt from everywhere else we go. I want to be able to come here. When I come here, it's not like I'm trying to stay. I want to stay for 2 weeks and then move on. But I want to know that we can do that. I don't want to never not come no more because the ordinance says we're here for 7 days. That's basically telling me we don't want you here, to be honest with you. If you look at everybody else's ordinances.
Well, Sheriff, you realize the county has different rules than we do, and they may allow you to do a longer period of time.
The ordinance changed them. It was amended. It
Schiff, we're going round and round. In 2021, we changed an ordinance. This has been in place for
Well, it
over
changed because
2.5